Hello and welcome to another edition of the Ghana Diaspora Discussion Forum. My name is Kwame Ofori-Kuragu. In this edition, we've got a couple of people to be talking to, people that I believe you would be very interested to hear from and to learn from. The unfortunate death of George Floyd in America shone a bright spot on the situation of Black people generally and people of African descent in the diaspora. For most Africans in the diaspora, it is more the case of the biblical hewers of wood, drawers of water. As the Black History Month is celebrated in the UK, because the US has different dates, but this gives us the opportunity to focus on the issues and the factors that limit the life chances of Blacks, generally people of African descent especially, and more specifically, Ghanaians in the diaspora. What can we do to improve the opportunities available to such people, especially Ghanaians, younger Ghanaians, the second generations and subsequent generations? What can we do to motivate such people to higher achievements, better lifestyles, better life chances and opportunities? Our guest today on the program, Gina Amoh, is the Chief Executive of Inquilab Housing Association in London. She's got other accolades that she will be telling us more about. We've also got joining us very shortly, Efua Koi-Larbi, also from London, is the Director of EFIBA Arts and African Cultural Development based in London. She will be telling us a little bit more about what she does, what else she's involved in. And we will structure today's program this way. We will be spending more time talking to Gina because Gina has another engagement and she would leave midstream on the program. But we are hopeful that Efua would be able to join us shortly. She's having a bit of a technical challenge getting on, but hopefully once she gets on board, she might stay through and be able to answer more of the questions that come. If later, after Gina leaves, you've got questions for Gina that you haven't been able to ask while she's here, I'm sure we can find a way to get them through to her and she would get any responses back to us and we'll relay it to people who need to know. We've also got joining us shortly, Professor Fred Yamoah. Fred is the executive producer for this show. He does a lot to put everything together. He will be joining, he's already on and we'll be seeing him shortly. We've also got our regular panel, Emmanuel Lewis, who is here on the program, and Michael Power from the US is also on this evening. This afternoon, if you're in the US or elsewhere. So first, let me formally welcome Gina. Gina, you're welcome onto the program.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thanks for inviting me. Thank you.
Yeah, so it looks like we've got Efua coming through. I haven't cited her yet, but hopefully she should be joining us shortly. But we'll start talking to Gina later if Efua will join us.
I have a meeting.
Okay, so Gina is currently a board member of the Guinness Partnership, one of the largest providers of social housing in the country, and until recently was a member of the Homes for Londoners board, chaired by the Mayor of London. As I said at the start, she's also the chief executive of the Inquilab Housing Association in London. In addition to these responsibilities, she founded the Leadership 2025 Charitable Foundation, and she chairs the steering and advisory groups. There are a few other things that Gina is involved in, and I don't want to take the wind out of her sails. I will give her the opportunity to tell us more about some of the things she does, and then we can focus on her main role. So Gina, let's start with you. I've said a few things, there are other things. Tell us about yourself to start, and then we can bring on board any other questions, please.
Okay, thank you very much. As I said, thanks for having me. I think you've more or less set out my background. I've been in the housing sector for around about 30 years now, so it's been a while that I've been involved in providing housing for those that are in housing need. I started my career as an officer, and gradually over the years went up the ladder from being officer to manager, then to director, and then chief executive. And as you said, I also I'm a board member. I've been board member of several housing organisations, and I'm pleased to say that currently I do sit on one of the largest ones in the country, the Guinness Partnership, as you mentioned. It's been a long career, a very exciting career, and I'm very pleased to say that I feel that in doing what I've done, I have hopefully helped many people to fulfill their potential. Because, as you know, sometimes young people are at loss in terms of what direction that they want to go. And it's always been a passion of mine to help the young people to succeed, because young Black people, as you know, don't often hold senior positions, despite some really strong academic background. They don't have the opportunities, and indeed some of them are stopped from achieving what they could achieve in life. So it's always been a passion of mine to help people succeed, which has led me to set up the Leadership 2025 charitable foundation. But, you know, that's a bit of my background, but I'm happy to pick things up as we go along.
Yeah, so I would ask you again kindly to speak to us about the Leadership 2025 in a moment, and then also about Inquilab and what you do. But in 2018 and in 2020, you were named amongst in the top 50 of the power players that is big. And in 2020, you were among the top 20 women in housing. It must be very difficult and tricky being a woman, being a Black, in all these at all these levels. How do you find it?
It's been tricky, yes. It's absolutely been tricky. I've had to maneuver in many ways, you know, to achieve what I wanted to achieve. But in all of that, I think it's been also people have given me the opportunities. They've believed in me. They have seen something that perhaps I even didn't see myself from a young age, you know, when I went into housing, and nurtured me. So yes, there have been challenges, but there's also been opportunities, and people believing in you. And I think that's really, really important. That, you know, you have people that you can mold yourself, and people that you know that will be able to help you through some difficult times. And I've had those, you know, I've had moments where there's been self-doubt, and, you know, you go for an opportunity, you don't get it, and you start to self-doubt yourself. But, you know, you need people to continue to say that you've got it, you can do it, and to encourage you. And I think for me, that's been the biggest thing, is to have people around that have supported me and been able to say, look, it's been a setback, but through the setback, you can achieve some good things. And I think that's really what pushed me along.
Excellent, that's great. Let's take the opportunity to get Efua also on board now. Efua's managed to join us despite some initial technical challenges. And Efua Koi-Larbi is the director of Efiba Arts and the African Cultural Development Company based in London. Efua, you're welcome, and we thank you for your time. So hopefully, as I said, we will be talking to Efua more towards the end. She might come in now so that at least we see who she is, what she's going to be talking about. But Gina might leave, as I said, earlier than Efua, so we'll have more time with Efua later on. Let's go back to Gina then. So Inquilab, what is it? What do you do?
Yes, Inquilab is what we call a housing association. We provide affordable housing for those that are in need. We buy properties, we build properties, and we provide support services to our tenants. and we manage, tenancies. So it's one that helps those that need housing. And we're based in West London. We were set up over 30 years ago to support people in the communities, particularly those from the BME background who were being discriminated back in those days in the 70s, when Black people didn't have opportunities for good housing and there was institutional racism within the housing sector. So these housing associations were set up round about that time, particularly for the BME communities, although housing associations have been around for hundreds of years. These ones were specifically in community areas where there were large BME people that lived in some very terrible conditions. We were set up to get some funding from the government, although we did have to also put some funding, raise some funding, private funding, to match the funding that the government gave us. So in many ways, we're private entities, we're not public entities. But because we've got some government funding, we do work with the local authorities. And more often than not, we take nominations from the council waiting list to house people that are in housing need. So, as I said, Inquilab was started in Southall. That's where we were born, as I say. Inquilab in Urdu means revolution. And despite its name, it's not just specifically towards the Asian communities. I think the uniqueness with Inquilab is that we wanted to support both all communities, all BME communities, whether they're Asian, Black Caribbean, Black African, and white people as well. I've had many occasions where people have said, "Oh, you just serve the Black BME community," and I said, "No, we do help people of all sort of shades, really, to be able to access good housing." So, as I said, Inquilab started small. We've gradually grown. And I'm pleased to say that in the years that I've been there, I've managed to triple the size of the organization. So that's something that I'm particularly proud of. And we've done a lot of community initiatives as well to support, because it's not just about providing housing, it is about having that holistic approach. Because you can give somebody housing, but if they can't sustain their tenancies or they can't manage their finances, then you've got a real problem there that they could be evicted. We do provide other services like helping their children who've got difficulties at school. So it's a more sort of a rounded services that we provide and not just the housing element of it.
Before I get the other members to ask any questions they may have, let me say this, that you must feel proud, about your achievement, what you've been able to do in the 30 years. And 30 years is quite a long time to keep doing this and doing it as well as you have. But let me ask about the situation of the Black person. You mentioned some focus on Black minority ethnic BMEs, specifically about the Black person of African descent. How do you assess the situation of the Black person of African descent in the UK as of present?
Well, as of present, I think the Black African people certainly, I believe, have achieved a lot academically. I think the people that we come across, particularly some of the ones that live in the properties that we have, you'll find that many of them have got a lot of qualifications. They've worked very hard. They've been to college and universities, etc. But what you also find is that they're in jobs that you probably wouldn't expect them to be in. They should be in senior jobs. You may find that some are, driving cabs who have qualified in sort of professional areas, but because of maybe racism in some cases, maybe it's confidence in other cases, you find that they're not at the level where they should be. And I think it's really important that they're supported in many ways to be able to, and I guess also it's not, some of them are not able to maneuver through the system.
Right.
It's not easy to sort of maneuver around that system. And what we also say is that some of them hit that glass ceiling as well and not able to get further than they are. But I think on the whole, Black Africans are highly educated, is what I would say.
Excellent. Thank you very much. So let me ask if people are ready. Fred, if you've got any question to ask, please feel free to go ahead.
Right, Kwame. Thanks so much, Gina, for making time to be with us this evening. I'm quite biased with my subject area, sustainability. So I would ask a question. I mean, let me give a bit of a background. My sustainability focuses much on the food industry. And the literature at this stage indicates that until there is some form of democratization of sustainable food in terms of the premium price that it attracts, not all social status will be able to afford. So I'm guessing that when it comes to the housing industry, we may have the same dynamics. I mean, maybe yet to have a study within the housing industry in that respect. Do you envisage, or has Inquilab already started considering transitioning into sustainable housing?
Yeah. It's an area that we've been talking about for many, many years. But I would say that it's probably more recently that ESG have started to gain some momentum within our sector. I am pleased to say that we are taking that very much on board. And some of the things that we are looking at, obviously, is building sustainability, energy. So we've managed to really embrace the retrofitting agenda. So that's one that we are very much involved in, decarbonisation as well within our stock. So in terms of new buildings, I think we have that approach of ensuring that sustainability is always as part of our new buildings. Our existing buildings, as part of our asset management strategy, we are making sure that all of those elements are incorporated within our existing, the work that we're doing to our existing properties. So I would say that, yes, very much the housing sector's probably come a bit late to the party, but we are at the party now. And I think it's very important that we continue that agenda, particularly, as I said, the ESG agenda, very much so. And you'll find that a lot of organizations, including my own, are now starting to develop strategies. We've even dipped our toe into ESG within our loans. So in terms of accessing private finance, we're beginning to insert our ESG requirements within those loan documents. So in terms of negotiating loans, we will have elements of ESG that we incorporate within that. Which
Gina, what's ESG, please?
Oh, I thought the expert Fred would want to. You asked the question. All right, I'll let you do it, Fred, since you asked.
Okay, yeah, that's good.
Right. Let me just do a quick follow-up, and then we'll do. I'm just curious in the sense that one generation really gives way to the next generation. You have been in this area for at least 3 decades, which is quite a long time. And I mean, from family links, and we've got the young girls coming. What future do you see ahead of our girls as they try to follow some of these pathways?
I'm very proud of our girls, actually. because I think our girls are doing very, very well. I think academically, as I said earlier, with people of African descent, but I think the girls are very ambitious. And what I tend to find that the girls want to progress. They want to get to the top. So I think it's encouraging to see that. And I'm very proud of some of the ones that I've actually seen that have got to the top. So I can see a lot of people following in footsteps, our footsteps. So I just hope that that continues. But I think it's incumbent upon us, those of us that have been around for 30 years. And I'm sure you'll appreciate that. Looking at me, I probably started very young, so I don't look that no, but seriously, it's it's very encouraging that the young ones are the young girls are following. I hope that answers your question.
Yeah. It does. It does. I mean,
Okay.
when it comes to the various jargons, we go for the triad. We go for environmental, social, and economic. And I know within the investment balance, they go for the environment and then the social and then the governance. So yeah. That's the ESG angle. But within academia, they focus more on sustainability as the overarching idea. And at the moment, I think net zero seems to be getting traction with
that's the key one that we've the net zero, decarbonisation, retrofitting, all of those areas is what we're really focusing on. And also in terms of the social part of it is the people agenda as well. Right. So making sure that that's incorporated within the people agenda, whether it be at work or elsewhere. So the S will definitely be that area.
Yeah, I think, Kwame, would you permit me to ask a final question?
Yes, please, go ahead.
All right, my question is about policy input. I mean, Kwesi Kwarteng's office has a lot being rolled out. So from the housing sector, how do you connect? I mean, via your chairship of that group, how do you connect in policy input? Are there any kind of cross linkages there as well?
So cross linking in
informing policy at the government level.
Yeah. Oh yes. 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 Absolutely. I mean, we do inform government at policy level. We've just obviously I don't know if you know, but Michael Gove has just been appointed as the secretary within the housing sector. So there will continue to be conversations with the government along policy lines. But recently we've had a whole raft of policies that we are obviously having to work to. I think the key one that you may know is the building safety, following that horrendous fire at Grenfell, which obviously I think we're all aware of. There's been a raft of policy that has come about to ensure that our buildings are safe. We make sure that the fabric of the cladding of the buildings are very safe, and that's been, it's been a long time coming, maybe one would say, but it's here now. We are having to abide by that. We do have other policy areas that we work with the government, the housing, particularly in housing supply. As was said earlier, I did sit on the Mayor of London's Homes for Londoners board with Sadiq, and the housing policy agenda in terms of increasing the housing supply, which is sorely needed in the country, particularly in London. So we do influence government policy very much so in all areas of housing and support services.
All right, thank you very much. I think I'll give way now.
Excellent, thank you very much. Before Emmanuel or Michael, whoever comes first, comes in with any questions, let me take this opportunity. I can now cite Efua here, so let's introduce Efua formally. As I said before, we'll talk to her more in the second section of this program. But Efua Koi-Larbi is the Director of Efiba Arts and African Cultural Development based in London. And we are grateful for your time on the program. Efua, you're welcome.
Thank you very much.
Tell us very briefly, we'll be talking to you a bit more later, but who is Efua Koi-Larbi?
Efua Koi-Larbi is pretty much a young lady in her 60s who had her formal education in Ghana. So I did my first and foremost trained as a teacher, and then had the first degree in drama and theater studies with Spanish, and then followed up to do international affairs, MA in international affairs, and a little bit of African studies before relocating to live in the UK.
Yeah.
Well, in the UK, I have been working, and I believe I'll talk more about me and my working later.
Yeah, excellent. And before I let you off for the moment, you did a bit of broadcasting in Ghana as well.
Yes.
And what were you involved in?
I was involved in more of children's education, and then building confidence among children for radio presentation and TV as well. And I was involved in the by the fireside storytelling on TV. But the main things that I produced as a programs officer was radio shows, and I did the Time with the Children as well as Children's Show. They are two different programs.
Excellent. Those listening to you, especially from Ghana, who have been around for possibly as long as some of us would remember with fond memories, programs like By the Fireside, and I'm sure we'll talk a little bit more about that later. But let's get Emmanuel and then Michael on. Emmanuel, Michael, if you've got any questions for Gina, please.
Oh, hello. Okay, Gina, first of all, I'm very proud of you. I'm looking at the very nice career that you've got behind you. And I'm sure everybody listening to you today should be very proud of you as well.
Thank you.
The first thing, maybe let me take you back. The first thing I'd like to ask you is, did you start your life in Ghana? And where did you start your life from? If you wouldn't mind, I want to be a bit personal now. Now move on to the next question.
A pleasure. A pleasure. I was born in Ghana. Yes, absolutely. I was born in Ghana. My father was a diplomat, so we were up and down in different countries. Eventually ended up here in London, and like many parents in those days, they felt that educating in London would be of use. So I was left here, and the family, I was left here with my brother, actually, my older brother, and the rest of the family sort of moved around the world, but we were left here. So I was brought up in London. I've lived all my life in London, and I went to primary school, secondary school, went to college in London, studied uni, all of that. So yeah, so it's been here. I do visit Ghana, so I do know Ghana. And I speak Tree as well. So
that's good. That's good.
That's good.
If you don't think I speak Tree, Madam Wasipa, so for inviting me.
That was excellent. Then that was good. Just to add to that, so how did you get into that kind of career? Was it difficult at the beginning? I mean, entering into that kind of that area in particular, did you find any problems or difficulties in getting out there?
I actually fell into housing. Now, if you ask my father, who's now just over 90 now, if you ask my father what I do, after all these years, he could never tell you what I do. or you know, housing, he can't explain it to you. I'm not a doctor, I'm not a lawyer, as many, I'm not a PhD like my cousin Fred either. So my father will never understand what it is. All he knows is you're a chief executive, so that's good enough for me, and I'll put a tick there. But you ask him what I do, and he won't tell you. He won't be able to tell you. But essentially, I fell into it. I actually did sciences when I was at uni. Did biological sciences, and then and I did it in Manchester. Then I came to London, looking for a job in a lab. I thought, well, that's the only place. My brother was a doctor, didn't quite, like that area, and so I came back to London, and I just happened to pick up a newspaper because I was looking for housing then as well, because I wanted my own flat after being a uni in Manchester for 4 years. And I was finding difficulty getting property to rent, actually, that I could afford in London. And so I was staying with in a friend's place, which happened to be a housing association property, strangely enough. And then I picked up a newspaper, and it said they wanted a housing officer. And I looked at how much they were paying back in those days, and I compared it to what they were paying lab technicians, and I was quite commercial, I think, in those days, and it was only a slight difference in money. And I thought, hey, this housing association thing looks quite interesting, so I decided that why not, let me try and find out what it was all about. So I actually phoned up before the interview, and I phoned very early, and I happened to speak to the chief executive who'd been in the office very early, and he asked me loads and loads of questions about myself. And then said, okay, why don't you put an application? So I did, not thinking I'd be invited for an interview, but I did. I wasn't. And then when I went to the interview, I was surprised to learn 5 people interviewed me for a very junior position. But anyway, I was told that I didn't get the job because the other person that I interviewed with got the job. So I forgot all about it. Then about 2 days later, I got a call to say I'd impressed them so much that they wanted to create a job for me, as well as the other person. So I got in there, and luckily for them, the other person didn't last very long. So I was able to cover, and really just started off there, from there. And once they say that once you get into housing, you never want to leave, and it's absolutely true, because what I found in doing the job was that I was helping real people. I was helping real people. I was helping people that had gone, had difficulties in their lives. And maybe young girls that at the age of, early 20s had 4 or 5 children, weren't going very far, So I was really able, and I'm very, very proud to say that many of the people that I've worked with, my tenants, have succeeded because of the interventions that I and my colleagues actually put into them. So I think in that respect, I'm very proud that I've made a difference to people's lives, and they remember. Sometimes I'm walking along and somebody will say, "Hey, Gina, you were my housing officer some 25 years ago," and I can't remember. And you made it. I mean, one I was very proud of, actually. I think I was at Clapham Junction, and I saw this woman rushing towards me. I thought, oh my God, somebody's going to push me down the railway. And she gave me a big bear hug, and she said, look, you intervened in my life. I was young, had loads of children, didn't know where I was going. You sat down, we talked about opportunities, and she actually went for one, and she became a manager of quite a big firm, and so those things are particularly the black women. I think it's very proud.
That's excellent.
I don't know if I answered your question, but I hope
that's all right. You've answered it. I think I have some other questions, but I'll leave for others to come in, and then later on I'll come in again.
Excellent. Okay. Michael, you've got questions for Gina before she leaves.
Yes, I've got 2 questions, but before I ask my question, let me say congratulations to you, Gina, and we are so much proud of you for your candor, your frankness, and above all, the humility. Like, I do really appreciate it. It touches my heart. And I want to launch on that and ask a question related. You mentioned that this thing was not achieved only by yourself, but other people also supported you.
Yeah.
And that is where I want to focus my question on. You also talked about, which you were extremely frank and honest, that Ghanaians in the diaspora, especially in the UK, have attained significant academic laurels, but they actually are not where they are supposed to be, or they are not doing what they intend to be doing at the end of their academic career. And that support is where I want to focus, that support will be needed. First of all, how did you find that support that put you where you are today? And for people in the UK who are aspiring to be where you are today with all the hard work that they have put in to get to the academic qualification that is needed and are still not where they are supposed to be, where do they find that support? And when you talk about the people around you who supported you, who are they? Is it family members, or is it like, how did you find that support, and who supported you? Where, for our listeners, if they want to access that kind of support, they will know where to go to. That is my first question.
Okay. I mean, the one that really comes to mind, my first support was my old boss. I said to you that I picked up the phone call to the chief exec of that organization that I started working. And he gave me the job, and he really helped me to develop in terms of learning about the role. He made sure that I was trained, made sure there was a training program in place. And I had a very good manager as well, it was an English woman. And she at the time was a housing manager, and I didn't have a clue about housing. I did not know anything about housing. She made sure that she taught me. I started to do my CIH, the Chartered Institute of Housing examination. They paid for me to go there. So the organization itself really supported me right from the beginning. So probably that's where it started. As I went up the ladder, I also decided to go do the business side of things. So when it came to time for me to do the MBA, my employers at that stage also offered to pay for my MBA course. So again, that's another element of support, that they believed that I could actually attain something. And then I also got support in terms of coaching and mentoring. Now, I think that's an area possibly that a lot of Africans probably don't tend to go into, but I think the coaching and mentoring is really, really important. I had somebody that coached me. I think he was from Zimbabwe. Very, very good, very good. And I would have senior management coaching with him. And that taught me to start looking at myself, what I could achieve. Because as I said, there were times when things didn't go right, that I would, in maybe some circumstances, have given up and said, oh God, I've had enough. I'm not going any further because this is too difficult. But when I had a coaching session, and I remember, I think I went for one job that I really, really wanted. And when I didn't get it, the first person I called was him. And he immediately arranged for us to have a coaching session, although we weren't due one. And we started to really talk through what went wrong, what my feelings were, why I was feeling down, because it demotivated me. But I think what he made me see was that it was just an interview. Maybe they didn't see something in me, but I should never lose sight that there is something there. And he actually set me homework and said, go away and write your life story. Write all about your achievements. And as I was doing that little exercise, I was thinking, yeah, I do have it. So I shouldn't lose that confidence, because you can easily lose it. And I think a lot of young people, Black people, tend to lose their confidence when they get a knockback. But you need to reflect on yourself and say, look, it's just the circumstances. Maybe somebody didn't like what I was wearing. Maybe they didn't like my face. Maybe they didn't like my color. So it's just to go back, brush yourself, and then, and then start again. So I think it's more about, so to answer your question, I think there's a lot of coaching, mentoring, self-belief, building confidence, making sure that the people around you, my family, yes, certainly. I mean, I had all my my relatives, including Fred, have all succeeded. So I think that in itself is something that you want to attain as well. So if you have people around you that have attained something, as I said, my brother is a highly respected doctor in South Africa. I've got another brother that's been a senior manager as well, and my late sister was a lawyer. So I think all of us have really supported each other, and I think within the family it's very, very important for that as well.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay.
Good. Thank you. I think the mentoring and the coaching is very important. I think that's what I get. Let me move to a question that relates to housing. I saw a quote that is attributed to you on your website. It says, "We are transforming the way we do things,
right,
to make our organization more efficient and improve the experiences of our residents. More than ever, we are a customer-focused organization that puts the safety, well-being, and needs of our residents first." This is attributed to you. So my question related to that is, one, what are you transforming on the housing market in terms of housing supply? And for those who are listening and who are not privy to, or who don't know about Inquilab, what is the distinguishing feature or service about Inquilab from other housing supply or other housing market that they should be aware of? And if people have to come to you, what should they bring and what should they be looking up to?
Okay, in terms of transformation, I think it's more around transformation, transforming the way that we deliver our services, because obviously we want to improve the customer services that we give to our customers, and customers are and quite rightly so, more demanding than possibly they were, and we need to keep up with that. So I think it's really important that we understand our customers, our customer profile, understand the demographics of who constitute our customers, in order to be able to provide that level of service to them. So you will have groups of people that will need to be serviced in a particular way. And if you take online, for example, a lot of people now these days use online. I mean, I don't like shopping, so I'd rather shop online, and what I say is the customers, why can't they receive their services online if that's the way that they're inclined to do that? As long as they can get their repairs service, carried out, they can get anything, all the information they need, then we have to transform ourselves to ensure that we offer a very good online service for those that are inclined to go along that route. But equally, there are some that have high support needs. So we have some customers that are more vulnerable. And as a result of that, we need to be able to offer a level of service that meets their needs, which means my housing officers having to go out on probably a more frequent basis to help them in whatever they need, maybe to report a repair, maybe to help them to manage their rent arrears and that. So that's what we mean by transformation. So it's making sure that we evolve with the times to meet the needs of our customers. But first of all, we need to understand who our customers are and what it is that they want and what level of service that we need to be able to provide to them. We haven't always got it right, but we are working towards it. We've made some mistakes, but you learn from your mistakes. So that's the I think that's the root of it. And you know, I've forgotten your other question. So our Inquilab, why is Inquilab different? Inquilab is different because what we like to say is that we can provide culturally sensitive services to our customers. And if you remember, I said that we profile or we segment our customers. So there are some that we will need us to understand their culture, how to provide those services. So if you take, for example, a Muslim household, you know, our repairs contractors, when they go there, they need to be able to respect those people. So they take off their shoes. I mean, it's a simple example before they enter into their home. Now that's providing a culturally, what we call a culturally sensitive service. When people call us, sometimes, you know, they want us to understand their culture, so we don't treat them as if they're mainstream. And I think that makes a difference. And that's really what Inquilab is setting itself apart from, to understand the needs and the support needs of not only just its customers, but also the communities as well, which is why the Leadership 2025 was formed, because we understood the external environment as it relates to Black people and the fact that they weren't getting to the senior positions. And therefore, we felt that we needed to do something. So at both a community level, grassroots, and also at a political, because the Leadership 2025, it did require political sort of intervention, if you like, and also senior intervention for us to get to the stage that we were able to set it up as a charity. So I would say that Inquilab leverages those sort of areas to be able to do good for its customers as well as its communities. So was there another third question to that, or have
I think you've answered the.
Oh, right, good, okay.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Gina. It's been a real pleasure listening to you, and I think we could go on and on. I'm aware that I have actually exceeded my welcome in terms of how long we're going to have you on for.
That's fine, that's fine.
We'll be releasing in a moment, but let me give 1 minute to somebody listening to us, anybody at all who is joining us who wants to ask something, very short question to Gina before she goes. Or if we wanted to put in a word whilst you were here before you leave, we'll allow that before we thank Gina formally for her time. Anybody, very brief intervention? Or feel free to, if you prefer to send a message, please send it in the chat. Or if you put it on the wall, you know, Facebook wall, we will pick it up. And it doesn't matter really if Gina doesn't hear now, because I'm sure as and when she gets to hear them, she would send a response which will relate to anybody. So yeah, go ahead, please.
Yeah, this is Efua.
Yeah.
And I'm really sorry that at a point in time it went off, and I don't know if this question has already been asked, but I just want to find out some of the specific challenges that you face in your job. Has it always been sales through challenges that you can identify as motivated by racism or some level of discrimination within your area?
Oh yes, I've experienced I've experienced that. I don't think any Black person can go through without that. But to be more specific, yes, I have. In the boardroom, I mean, I can give you some loads of examples, but I think the main one is probably in the boardroom, because when I started off my career, one of the things that I did do was to sit on boards. And my first one was to sit on one of the largest housing associations in those days as well. I was invited on the board. I went through the usual sort of interviews, etc. And I remember being invited to their AGM. That was the first time that I was meeting the board members, all of them white, male, old. I was the only Black person there, and woman as well. So we went to, they had the AGM in a very posh part of, I think, Sloane Sloane Square or somewhere like that. Very nice house. So I walked in and not one person came to greet me, apart from the company secretary who was Asian, who I knew. And I mean, it was just completely ignored. And that was my first sort of real test, if you like, in terms of at that level. And then when we did go to the boardroom, it was, the thinking was that I was invited on the board because I was Black and I was a woman. And you could tell, you know, there's the comments, the snide comments and all of that. Within 6 months, when they realized that, yes, she does know what she's talking about, every paper that was in housing management, unless I put my seal on it, they wouldn't approve it. And so it was a 360. They needed to know that I could actually do what I was there to do. And that itself, I had other occasions where I've sat next to chief execs at conferences where they believed that I was a junior member of staff, and you could see the look on their face when I said, my badge said, "Oh, you're chief exec." "Oh, you're the chief exec." "Yes, I am," type of thing. So yeah, I've experienced those things. But to be honest, one learns to, I won't say get over it, but I think I use the opportunity to educate people. And once they start talking to you, they realize that yes, you do sort of know what you're there to do. And I don't think it's anything that's going away anytime too soon. But it goes back to, as I said, have that confidence, have that faith in yourself, that belief, and you'll get through. Get through. Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Thank you very much to Efua for that question and to Gina for the response. It's a real pleasure to see somebody of Ghanaian heritage, originally born in Ghana, lived in the UK, but gone through everything you've gone through to get to where you are at the moment. You are a real inspiration. And I believe that in years to come, you would have even more influence impacting other people and supporting other young Africans, young Ghanaians come through the same journey that you've been through. My apologies once again for going beyond the time that we wanted
That's
to
fine.
have you on here for, but we are really grateful. We hope that this is not the last time, but there will be more opportunities to interact with you. Thank you very much once again. Have a great week, and we wish you all the very best.
Thank you very much. My pleasure. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. So for everybody on the call, Gina would be leaving us shortly. She's been with us the best part of the past hour, and she's been sharing her experiences. She's the chief executive of Inquilab, and it's a housing association based in London. And you don't often see Blacks, women in that sort of position. She's a real credit to the generation. We still have on the program Efua Koi-Larbi. Efua started as a broadcaster in Ghana. She now lives in the UK. She's on this call and live, and she's going to be telling us more about what she does. Efua, you were quite successful in Ghana. Why did you leave? And do you regret leaving Ghana?
I cannot say. I mean, it's in between, really. Economically, I would say that, well, maybe not, but generally, in fact, greater part of me, I wish that I was in Ghana. But in any case, I can't say it's a regret as well, because every step in life gives you learn as you roll on. So I wouldn't say that it's a regret as such, but I would love to be in Ghana again. so
yeah, hopefully it won't be too long before that dream is realized. So yes. What do you do now in the UK?
Well, at the moment, I just I'm a company director for 3 organizations, which are all, so Efiba Arts was the first one that was set up when I was living in London. And Efiba Art was motivated by, I was working at City of London Business College, actually the Ebenezer part of the same organization. But as somebody with a teaching background, I was so much interested in the education, but there were so much media information that the Black ethnic minorities are underachieving. You see, but then going to schools and seeing what is happening, I didn't understand why the media was so much about Black underachievement, because the young people there were equal. I mean, they were achieving. Why are they being? And what I realized was that it was really affecting the ethnic minority children in the schools. So we set up Efiba Arts mainly to support children and young people, and also to instill, even if you've been labeled as an ethnic minority, it doesn't mean that you should fit the category, the stereotype situation of you internalizing what they are saying that you are underachieving. You need to be proud of what, and then you encourage them, motivate them to aim higher than just settling with the kind of tag that they've given to them, which suggests that they are underachieved, so they have to go out into the world to be doing low kind of thing, jobs that are over there. So it's just, we set it up. Then I had to leave London because of housing issue to go and live in Harlow, and realize that although the Black and ethnic minority community at that time, according to the council, was just about 2%, yet there is the need for a similar thing in Harlow. So Efiba Arts was thriving because 3 years after being set up, it became so popular, especially with YMCA and other youth projects in terms of promoting and encouraging diversity in everything else that we do in the education of the children and young people. And by 2007, 3 years after it had been set up, we were privileged to be performing and sharing the culture with the nation, playing in for the 200 years of the abolition of slave trade. And then we started liaising. So because of how that was growing and coming to live here in Harlow, I thought that I'll start a similar thing here. And so now I manage those 3 organizations, Efiba Arts in London, because I couldn't move it. It has got a home. Then we have Efua Cultural Academy, which is based in Harlow. And then, because that was a private company, we started performing arts in traditional African and Caribbean cultures. And that is the one that does Black History events every year and coordinates Black History activities in Harlow.
I'll ask 2 quick questions. The first one is, before I let my other colleagues come in, you asked Gina about the challenges. You typify, the, average Ghanaian left Ghana come here. What have been some of the personal challenges you faced? And then secondly, what is your biggest achievement? What can you look back since you came to the UK and say that, wow, this was big and I'm pleased with that?
For challenges, I still face it because as first and foremost, you have the community that sometimes appear as if they are you see in Ghana, whatever you do, you feel that it's appreciated, you feel that you are valued. But living here, and especially interacting with the system itself, because of that kind of mentality within, everything else that you do, I know that these challenges are there. And a lot of our Ghanaian members, Ghanaians living here have made it in spite of those challenges, but for me particularly, sometimes I find it quite difficult to go through, because you see people of from the wider majority, the system itself, trying to undermine every effort, especially among young people. The discrimination, the deliberate, even living in Harlow, it's even worse. The deliberate attempt to sabotage what you do and bring you down based on who you are, but purely based on who you are, even within your church, within your community as well. And sometimes they label you as always complaining. But it's a reality, it's there. You've got to experience some of these discrimination to know. Sometimes it's painful, sometimes it gets you angry. But at the end of the day, I mean, if you are a Ghanaian, you are a Ghanaian, and you are naturally encouraged to achieve despite the difficulties around. But for me, the two greatest things I have achieved is the ability to even win the attention of organizers of cultural activities, especially when we're in London, to be able to perform for the Queen and introduce. Mensong wasn't very popular as at 2007. So we introduced this Mensong in things that they do if it's related to Black history. And also establishing Hello Black History since 2006 and have it running up to date. And although it hasn't developed to a level where it gets a national attention, it wasn't easy wanting to do that, because in 2007, 1 year after we had done it, I was called and I was told that any funding that was going to be given to it should be used for anything else apart from Black history. So as I now put together and I'm writing my experience for posterity of organizing Black history in Harlow, all those things will be in, just to inform that you may meet these difficulties. What do you do? Sometimes you ignore and then you move ahead and you go.
Excellent. It's really great to be hearing from somebody whose experiences many of our listeners, many Ghanaians would share, having left Ghana, come here as an adult and then gone through, done what you've done. And the icing on the cake really, I think, is even meeting the Queen. That also it was big, you know, in terms of recognition in this country. There are other issues we can, ask you about, other experiences about Mensong and all that. But let me get my colleagues also to ask any questions or contributions they've got, and then there's time we'll come back to talk more about all these. Anybody ready to come on? Is Fred still with us?
Yes.
Yeah, go ahead, please.
Oh, hi.
Oh, okay.
Okay, everybody's speaking.
I call her Auntie for. I mean, I had known her for quite a while, and I must say that maybe much of your achievement comes from your natural passion, based on what you've achieved. But I'm just curious to know what has been the cooperation from our side of the divide been. I'm not talking about outside in terms of the young people. I know they love to participate. I'm talking about outside in terms of other people of our background in positions, in terms of their collaboration with you in making sure that you achieve your objectives.
Well, in London, for instance, I would say that I had support especially from the Ghanaian community, and and that was because every time that it's going to we are doing something, we used to just inform the Ghana High Commission that this is happening. And for every single time that we have called, the Ghana High Commission is there. There were times that we go there and say that, well, we need somebody with this resource to support us. This is what we, so I would say that within the Ghanaian community, I have had, of course, I don't expect everyone else to be there. But what we need, and I wouldn't blame those in governments or in politics at the moment. Honestly, I joined the Labour Party when I was in London, and in Harlow, I tried on 2 occasions to go into the council to become a local councillor, and I didn't win. But right now there are younger ones there, so I think that maybe I'll support the younger ones who have also joined the Labour Party from Ghana, who are Ghanaians, to achieve that, because we're getting old. However, from the Ghanaian community, it was fairly, but I would say that I wouldn't blame those in governments now, because personally, I think I haven't gone seeking. I mean, sharing these negative experiences we are having and seeking to get things that we think should be included in policies to support things that we do. So because I haven't stretched forward, I can't say that I haven't got the support needed, because I haven't presented to them that we need support.
If I can do a quick follow-up,
yes, please.
I know that you've done a lot within relatively short time compared to maybe other people. The question is, have you had the opportunity to also mentor other people? Because I mean, generationally, like we said, we are miles ahead. Are there people coming through who have also had the opportunity for you to mentor them?
Yes, I have had opportunity to mentor and support a lot of, for instance, when the COVID-19 came, there's a young organization called Community Embrace, which is a Ghanaian organization. And they were, they had the opportunity of collecting food from the supermarkets, but how to get the people, how to support and how to help for that to grow, we were there to support. And most importantly, when I was in London, there were a lot of smaller organizations that were starting up that came, and then we supported with how you should write out your policies, what is required for you to get your organizations registered, and then running if you need initial funding to support, how to get funding and where to look out for. So we have mentored quite a number of small organizations, not only from Ghanaian background, but also from other West African countries. Mm-hmm.
Thank you very much.
At the moment, we are just in the process of trying to get, because there was Aklowa, which was a Ghanaian founded cultural center that people used to come. Universities were coming to Aklowa, and after the demise of Cobson, they disorganized it. Stansted Airport bought the place for something else. And at the moment, we've come together, we have Ghana Union here, and we are coming together to try to revive it. We are facing serious opposition, but I think that we will be mentoring the younger ones to get this achieved.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yes.
Excellent, thank you very much. Anybody else wants to come in and speak directly to Efua?
If I should come in here, well done, and thank you very much for the good job you're doing out here. One thing I would like to ask you is that, do you normally perform in some Ghanaian programs, or maybe how do Ghanaians connect with you as far as your program is concerned?
Oh, well, we have the Efua Arts, for instance, the website is there. And there was a time that we did some interview and we keep advertising. And yes, we have performed in the past. There was Ghana in the Park, Ghana Party in the Park.
Yeah.
And then there was also the Miss Ghana events that we have performed in before, and a couple of Ghanaian things that we have been part of as performers. And so we've done, and apart from that, we have also performed, but that one I wouldn't say is purely Ghanaian, rice festivals and so on. We go there and then we keep advertising. But what we do also is a lot of those links, we got them through Ghana High Commission, and through the organizers of especially Ghana Party in the Park, and then the Miss Ghana UK events and so on. For Miss Ghana UK, we performed in it for a couple of times.
The next question I'd like to ask you is, do you have any kind of link, or are you connected to any organization in Ghana at the moment, where you think you can, support each other, or you can give some sort of, share your experience with them?
Not yet, but I love to, and I really, really want to. So far, it's just School of Performing Arts. That doesn't even really need us, because the only link we have is that when we need equipment, we just speak to people there. But we would love to link up with the cultural groups in Ghana.
Well, let me take the final one. Like most of us normally say, what is the next way forward? Is it, are you thinking of going back home? As I think you said something along the line somewhere, yes. Or is UK forever? What's the next way forward?
At the moment, I've already started laying the background in preparation for me going back. And initially, we thought that we're starting a school. My husband and I were going to start a school, but I think from the time we planned it and this time we've left things, or it hadn't been easy to get things done that way. So, but definitely we are planning of going back. The only thing we want to see to its completion before we go is this African Center, where we have a place, but that is for the whole of West Africa. But it is really great that we had a Ghanaian pioneer, Cobson, who started it. A lot of universities were coming there for research, and now it's not there. So we just want to support to get it done, and then I work with them.
Leave a legacy there. Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Before Michael comes in, there's a message here for Efua. It says, "Well done, Efua. We are so proud of you. Ulapsan 1980." And I'm sure Ulapsan is something that you will identify with. Is that your secondary school?
That's my training college.
So that is Ola
Training College, Cape Coast.
Excellent.
It's Ola College of Education.
Yeah.
Yes.
There's a question here for you, but I'll let Michael ask his, and then I'll read that question to you. Michael, please.
Yeah, thank you so much. I'm also very proud of you, and I joined your colleague who said they are proud of you. And picking back from where Emmanuel left off about going back, I would say that based on the achievements that I have read and I see online, I believe that you are making a global impact. So your work has made a lot of impact in the UK, and you are not only affecting Ghanaian communities, but other communities as well who may not necessarily be Ghanaian. So kudos to that. As part of your achievement, I see one that stated that you are also helping various people to set up similar organizations in, I think, Hackney and Harlow and Cambridge and other areas and other places as well. And I see that your organization is also a limited liability organization. So it's not a non-for-profit, it's a for-profit organization. Am I correct?
FUSA is a profit organization, but Efiba Art is it's a company limited by guarantee, which means we don't have shares and it's a charitable company.
Oh, okay. I see. Yeah, because I was going to tie that to the fact that you have helped other people, especially is it a BME? Also, those who have accessed your services, achieving higher academic excellence and all that. And I wanted to understand if it's for profit, whether it's open to everyone, and especially those who are also low income. How do they access that service so that they can have some correlation between your services and the academic excellence that you are bringing on board?
Yes. With regards to FUSA Cultural Academy, that's a profit-making organization, because I think from various small business sessions, I realized FUSA was 2005 after Efiba Arts. Efiba Arts was set up in 2004, and it was charitable, and it was easy to get funding and so on. But from business point, I realized that you've got to get something that you call your own, because Efiba Art is more for the community and it's charitable. So people can access the service maybe for just a small fee, although it's allowed to trade. But the purely trading one is the FUSA Cultural Academy. And of course, the small business associations, various local partnerships give regular training regarding how to grow the business, where to look for clients and things like that. And with the academic excellence, of course, the schools are, the universities are there. But what I need, our focus has been trying to bring that level of academic impact. I mean, the importance of looking at the culture. I mean, culture and diversity as an important way of enabling people to grow. Those who were crying that, oh, there's the Black underachievement and so on, they forgot that especially the young people who have from Ghana and from West Africa and from various ethnic minority backgrounds, they have their own cultures at home. And these cultures help in shaping the people, the young people's way of learning. And then when at school, these cultures are being pushed at the back, it confuses the young people. And it even becomes much more complex when they are age 18 and above, where it is time to be preparing to be going to the universities and so on. You find a Nigerian or Ghanaian background parent wanting to encourage their children to achieve higher, just as we had back in Ghana. But then by 18, 19, the mentality is falling that you are an ethnic minority and this, so people start, oh, I'll rather work and get money. I'd rather do whatever, and then the focus is shifted into that academic achievement. So that's what FUSA Cultural Academy set out to do by going to the schools and holding workshops and encouraging the young people to improve. And that's why if we get this center here, we will use culture as a way of encouraging ethnic minorities and also the wider majority people, teachers and academicians, to let them know that this background is important. The background of who they are is important in helping them to achieve higher academic achievement, what do you call it, standards.
Thank you very much, Michael and Efua. There's a question here in the chat from one of our listeners or possibly somebody on the call. I can't see a name, but it says, do you have plans of working with a private school in Ghana? And that's directed to Efua, please.
Although I hadn't thought of working with a private school in Ghana, now I have got it, because we thought we were going to establish a school. But I think the most practical way of working with a school in Ghana, the practical way of achieving that is working with a school in Ghana, an already established school, and then working with them to, because I had a friend who is also an Olafsan. She's also from Ola Training College. She was my senior, far ahead. But what she did was that for 21 years, she's retired now, but for 21 years, she worked as a teacher and a head teacher, and in they found the school in a village. And what she did was going to Commonwealth areas, looking for sponsorship for these young people. And it really helped linking up with other organizations outside of, so I would love to do that. And maybe from this forum, if there's anybody who can link us to some of these schools, whether private or government schools, that we can work with, it would be great for us to work with the schools in Ghana and support.
Excellent. I think that will be a really positive contribution to the growth and development of education in Ghana. So anybody on the call who has any links and able to do any introductions, please feel free to introduce Efua and then to help encourage her in the good work she's involved in. There is Florence also on this call. She says she's Florence Ama, and she says, I also do the same thing like Sister Efua. I like to say to her, well done for your achievement, because it's not easy. Well done, she says again. So I'm sure many people do identify with what you do and are full of commendation for you. There's also from Margaret. She says, well done, Efua, for your hard work. You've made a great impact in young people globally. God will reward you. And there are several hand claps for you. So hopefully,
thank you.
You receive them.
Yes.
Anybody else has any contribution or questions, please feel free to go ahead. If you'd rather prefer to send it as a chat, if you send a message, we will read it out. But otherwise, if what you mentioned, Michael, I'm supposing you finished. Okay, there's a message here from Josephine. I will link it to the first one and then I'll see the full impact because she's giving a contact number. I'll give it to Efua privately. I don't want to put Josephine's number all over the world and getting any unwanted attention. So thank you very much, Josephine. I will pass it on to Efua. But I was going to ask, because you said that you joined the Labour Party, and that is quite unique. I mean, in our typical sort of circles, the Ghanaian circles, I mean, you've got a typical hot man or hot woman, you know, who is jobbing, finding pounds or dollars in Michael's case. Why do you think, is there any need to join, you know, political parties in this country if you are a Ghanaian or African?
I think it is important that, well, I don't expect everybody else to be involved in politics, but I think if you want your voice heard or your impact felt, sometimes being part of a political party that is already established and sharing what you think could be used for political leaders to shape their agendas or their way of improving and making sure. Because I remember when I moved to Harlow, I wasn't sure whether I was going to be involved in the Labour Party in Harlow, but I saw in the newspaper that they were meeting. It's a community meeting, and so I went. to the council. And I found myself to be the only Black person over there. So during the question time, I was asking, how do you get information disseminated to people? How do people know that this is going on? It's in the newspapers. When people are busy going about their work, they may not know, because even how many of your own white people were you able to reach? Apart from those who are here because you send them direct emails. Those in the newspapers, nobody even checks and sees, oh, can I go or no? And then the counselor who was speaking at that time said, oh, maybe we can rely on some of you to reach. And he used a word that I really don't like, hard to reach. Hard to reach. How is it hard to, if you know the person's address, you want, so we want to rely on some of you. And I said, okay, I've heard you, but the hard to reach is not something that I think we should use. And then from there, I started going on. But I will say that I'm happy. The first two Ghanaian councillors, local councillors that we had in Harlow were all Ghanaians. Yes, there was one, Mr. Doku, and then the following year, another Ghanaian also became a councillor, and we had two Ghanaians out of, I think at that time, 3 Black people in the council. Right now, all of them are not there. We had 2 more people who stood, and this year they still couldn't get in. So in Harlow here, it's a way of just, and now the council, all the Blacks within the local authority have gone. So whatever discrimination or whatever, the way our housing needs are ignored, and the way we don't have any representation over there, it's really difficult to even support other Blacks who need help within the local authority. Housing issues, even education, schools that our little ones have to attend, and so it's not easy. And that's why I think if we had people from our communities being part of the local council, being councillors and being there within through the parties, because it's only through a party that you get to become a councillor. And when you are a councillor and we have representations there, we are able to approach each other and then submit our needs and then make sure that we push it ahead and then get needs assessed at least. So that's why I think it's important that we all try and get into politics. And luckily, in the Conservative Party, we have Kwarteng there, and then we have this lady, Ghanaian Labour Party member in Parliament, and it's great because ethnic minorities understand ourselves better. And so it would be better if all our young people can be in politics, who knows.
Thank you very much, Efua. If there's anybody on the call who has a question for Efua contribution, or if you have a comment on the first part of the program when we hosted Gina Amoh, you could still come through with your contributions. So I will go ahead to ask a few questions, but please feel free to join in if you want to, if you're on the call or if you send a message through. There's a message here from Josephine again, who I think probably knows you very well. She doesn't see it as a surprise that you are involved in all these public, life and affecting people positively. She says that back at Ola training, you used to be very good on stage, especially mimicking people. She mentions especially the late former President Rawlings. Do you remember those days? So it looks like you've been a performer for a long time and you've kept developing that, so well done. Yeah, but I was going to talk about the politics again, more because we don't see lots of people from where we come from who end up in the diaspora being involved in the politics of where they live. I mean, the real shame is that there were lots of people who, if they had been back in Ghana, they would have been involved, even if not in politics, in public life of a sort. But in the diaspora, they are content to hide in their little corner and then live a life to themselves. Why do you think should anybody bother being involved in the Conservative Party, in the Labour Party, in Republican Party, Democratic Party if you're in the US?
I would say that I think it's personal. It's a kind of a personal choice. People wanting to just hide in their corner. They feel that they don't want to get into trouble. But like Josephine was saying, Ola, for instance, when I connected with our WhatsApp group and I called one of our friends and I said, I hope you remember me. She said, if I will forget anyone else, not you. And then I also remember that when I went to do the master's and everything else, I just want to be involved in everything else. So right from the Gamsu and Fred knows about how Gamsu and things, and at Legon, when I went to do the master's, I was involved not as initially as an executive or and during the first degree, I didn't do those things, but I was still all over the place. And then when we were doing the master's, there were times that we had to follow up and then get the students' loans that we had to go in. You have to go to the government and get things like that. So I told the president at that time that after they had gone, we were going to go to the next year. I was going to be the president, and he laughed. And he said, even the the student SRC, we haven't had any woman being the president. Normally the ladies who go for treasurer and things. And even those who go for treasurer and things, you have to talk to them. The men have to go talking to them. And I said, no, it's not true. But I don't want to go as a treasurer. I want to be the president. And they laughed and they said, oh, they couldn't. But luckily, I had people who signed for me, and I had 25 people to sign. I wasn't expecting that it was going to be like that. So I was interested in politics, things relating to policy and decision making and so on. So I think it's individuals and their interests. And I'm glad to say that in the end, I won as the GRASAG president with a majority. Even the person who came second, there were 3 men and I. And when I won, the person who was the next, he had worked with the UN and other places, and he said all that. In spite of that experience, I had it, and I believe that I did a good job. So that sort of rekindled, and the impact we had, even the lecturers were happy about, although we couldn't stop the university planning to start charging fee. At that time, we thought we had it free and it should continue. We couldn't stop it. The year after we had finished, the following year, they started charging fees from the university. But I think that hiding in your corner, perhaps because maybe they are there and they achieve the happiness they want. But I would say that being involved in politics gives the happiness when you know you've made an impact.
Really good point. And I like the history you share with us about the agitating before the introduction of cost sharing in tertiary education in Ghana. It gives me an idea when you were in the university then, and all the campaigns and the alloters which didn't get anywhere, should I say. But before I come back to you, well, let me check with Fred. Fred, you've been here for a long time in the UK, I mean. Why do you think more people like yourselves, like Emmanuel, like Michael, are not getting involved in the local politics of where you call home now?
Right. Thanks for putting me on the spot. I mean, I envisage that if I stayed in Ghana, I would surely be a reverend minister. There's no two ways about that. And over here, because I did my local preaching exam in 1997, so I was relatively young, a young local preacher. So that should be the trajectory. Now being candidated to go to Trinity College and then become a Methodist minister. Over here in the UK, I've continued as a local preacher, and I've had a lot of calls from people saying that, oh, you could even still be a lecturer and then be an ordained minister. You see, back to the politics. I mean, being an ordained minister here in the UK will mean that you are involved in the everyday sort of thing. So you could relate that to the kind of political life. What I've realized, or why I didn't take that step, or having taken that step, was the fact that I did realize that culturally, there were a lot of differences. So as a typical Methodist minister, you go to the hospitals and you have to learn the rules about what to say to a patient in a hospital here in the UK compared to what we know in Ghana. So it could be, part could be fear, and part also could be the fact that we are not ready to also learn, because you need to learn a lot of stuff. Over here at Kent, my small investigation shows that at our place, whoever conservative will put up there will win the seat, right? So, but I am Labour at heart. So the question is, really, do I just go and then sit in there and add to the numbers? So I've had a thought about joining the local politics in terms of, but still this cultural element also comes to mind. That if I'm a Labour councillor in my area, I'll have to be working on behalf of white people. So I begin to ask, because we don't have many of our people here. So I begin to think that, will I be good enough in terms of understanding their psyche and being able to serve them well? Maybe if I was in North London, East London, or any of those London areas, I may have even opted to contest for an MP seat. But so for my personal experience, I think there's that element of thinking that you don't know enough, or you may get it wrong, and then the need to also learn to be able to operate in those positions.
I think those are very useful points that you put out. And it's important that we understand the culture, like you said, and then the context to be able to represent people properly. If anybody has any other intervention, please feel free. But let me go back to Efua and ask her two things really. Maybe first, for parents. Parents like you migrated from Ghana to the UK or to any other country in the diaspora. What do we do with all the challenges that we find, especially when people have got families, kids? What should parents do to be able to navigate the difficulties that we find in the terrain we find ourselves in?
I think parents themselves need to just educate themselves as to the difference in the culture and gently lead the children to understand that, well, this is different from the way we do things. You go out there, you get your friends who in the house challenge their parents and do whatever they want without being stopped. So that they need to themselves understand their culture and the reasons why certain things happen. And then from there, be able to guide the children from home. Because obviously what you teach them from home and what they even learn from school, not only from their peers, but also from the system, the education system, can really contrast. And sometimes it makes the children lost, but they should be there, because I know a parent who would use a cane
in the
to
UK.
discipline the child at home.
In the UK.
Yes. And the child was, I think, 12 years before that child and the mother came to join their father here. And what was happening was that everything else that came from the school, and the school came to tell a report to the parents, the father says, yes, your teacher says you were not listening. Your teacher says, and sometimes you go in and it is not, he wasn't even the one. The mother was crying all the time because the man thought that the only way to stop the child was to cane the child. You see, so those things affect the child's self-confidence as well. You see, listen to the child's part. The teachers may be there. I don't expect teachers to lie anyway, but they may always not be right.
And pick on that.
So it's important for parents to listen to their children's side of stories. If you think the child went wrong, it's better to call and tell the child that, okay, I would have dealt with this situation this way, rather than being labeled. And I'll tell you something. I went to school. I started teaching because of my background, started teaching here in the UK in primary schools. And even at the staff room, this is the truth. One child, mostly the Black intelligent child in class, and a teacher will come to the staff room and complain, I told him to sit down and he said he wouldn't sit down, and he said sometimes it's not true. And the teacher says that in the staff room, other staff start chipping in, and then the child is already blacklisted from just one incident, whether it is true or not. If you are a teacher in the staff room and you challenge that, oh, this is a child, maybe the child didn't know this, and you try to make a case for the child, you become a target as well. You see, so sometimes selling your conscience and following what everybody else is doing has impact. And you will realize that those who are targeted are those children from ethnic minority who are brilliant. And it is the truth, and I can confidently say it anywhere. And if I'm pushed to give the examples of those schools and which teachers, I don't know whether I will spell it out, but this happens. That's why parents should always see the goodness in their children and support them to let them enhance that wherever they are. And then build them up, because there is always the saying that those children who are born abroad in Ghana, before they come here, they come and they become wayward because of the culture and all these things that we throw about. The culture itself, the child is from a home. And how to behave and comport yourself is from the home. See, so I think that's what we should do as parents. And I must say that I had my first child, my quiet, gentle daughter, at a point was talking back and challenging and so on. I know they will learn it outside, but at the end of the day, if it comes from outside, those challenges come from outside, we must be aware and be prepared to deal with it gently. So we have our children.
Excellent. Really positive points there. And I'm sure that if there's any child listening to this or watching this with their parents, they will be happy and they will love you for this. Yeah, but it appears that you've been westernized. Anybody also listening to you from Ghana will feel that you have become too British, probably, in the sort of advice you give.
Oh, have I?
When you mentioned the use of the cane, because I mean, where we come from, there are people who are still adherents of spare the rod, spoil the child.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But let me ask the final one before, then I'll allow if anybody has any final questions we can. But generally for Ghanaians in the diaspora, not just in the UK, everywhere, what do you think Ghanaians, as part of the African community, as part of the overall Black community, should be doing to enhance our contributions to our society, to make sure that we've got possibly more Ghanaians, or people who look like us when we watch the TV, when we listen to news and all that? What should we be doing?
But this is quite a difficult question to answer, because sometimes it's difficult to tell people what to do. But I will encourage those who feel that they have to be involved. Don't hide in the corner if you feel that you need to be involved, you need to make an impact. Sometimes if you hide and what you think, you are unable to express what you think has to be done to improve lives of other people, then please be involved. Be involved. If you are a parent, be involved in your child's education and talk about what you will see, you want to see. Be part of the school politics itself. They have school counselors and school, what do you call it? I've even forgotten. Be involved in the activities of the school. If it is you going to politics, even within church itself, you can make a contribution. At the moment, the Methodist Church, we are struggling with the gay issue that came up within the UK. And there is a problem where the Methodist Church has been in the news recently about this gay issue and what other people think, you see. So make an impact. What you think, be involved. Be involved. Aside, it's a very difficult question to answer, because me telling people I feel I want to be involved. And I know so many people also feel they want to be involved, but just don't let it, if you feel like being involved, don't let it be just a feeling. Put that feeling into action. And it's quite surprising how much impact you can make. But of course, there are others who may feel not to be involved, and they are free to do what they like.
All right.
They feel motivated to.
Yeah, Kwame, just sorry.
Yeah. Go ahead, Michael.
Yeah, so just a quick one. I think this is a very important question that you raised, especially when it comes to Ghanaians in the diaspora entering into politics. And we all know that politics and policy are twins, and that is where that's where things happen and it percolates down. So without you being at the top or without you being there, means you have little to contribute in terms of decision making and influence. It might be a topic for another time or discussion, but I don't want to profess maybe roadblocks as in, but there are clearly certain challenges that most people face when they come into the UK and the US. One, the first one had to do with even how you got into the UK or the US and how you became either qualified as a citizen or like a green card holder, or like however you became qualified to even contest or to even enter into politics. Sometimes the route might even make you vulnerable in terms of if you want to venture into it. So that vulnerability is there. And that is why I believe that most people, instead of like exposing those vulnerabilities and trying, because you know that public office means that you are opening yourself up for the public for scrutiny. So that could be one. The other thing could be language. And, I don't know about the UK, but in the US, the moment you open your mouth to speak and you get this question that will follow, where do you originally come from? Then that, you know very well that you are speaking differently. So immediately open your eyes and where are you originally coming from? Then you know that you are speaking differently. And
before they ask that question, they think about it to be very sensitive,
Yeah, so these are some of the, but especially for kids that were born in the diaspora and grew up in the diaspora, what actually prevents them from entering into the politics? And that is where Auntie Efua is also talking about. And that's where Auntie Efua's work is super important in terms of helping them and culture diversity and all that, because you have a culture that you came from and you have a different culture that you met. And there is at times these cultures are in conflict. And this is the culture that prevails. So you have to navigate those two cultures and see if you want to enter into politics, one must give way to the other. Both cultures that are competing cannot be used to navigate public office. So it becomes another challenge. Which one do you leave behind and which one do you take and which one do you use in public office, because they conflict with one another? That is another thing. So I think that we might have to find another time, delve more into this particular topic because it's super important. And I see that, Kwame, you are very passionate about it, and rightly so. We should all be passionate about it because policy is where all the actions happen. You can be an expert in medicine, expert in whatever expertise that you have. You are operating within the bounds of a policy which is set by either a non-expert or a politician. So if you want your ideas, if you want your expertise to prevail without being a policymaker, it will be very difficult for that idea to even find roots. So I think it's a very important question that we'll have to tingle our mind and we have to come back to address it. And if it's something that we might take some time to go through it, we should do it. Because I, for one, I see myself as a politician, but honestly speaking, as I speak to you now, here in the US, if you are not a citizen, you can't even contribute. You can't even volunteer for any political party. So first of all, you might have taken several years before you even get there. And by the time you get there, you feel that, oh, let me leave it for the people who have the energy and who have vested interest to do their thing. Because by the time you get there, you have already contributed your quota to where you are coming from in your case. So that is another challenge that I see.
Excellent.
Yeah,
Efua, please.
yes. And well, I think that those of us in the UK, we have a privilege because even if you are in the UK on a visit and you are a Ghanaian, I mean, the rule says that because you are from the Commonwealth, even if you are just in visiting, you still qualify to vote. So in those of us from the Commonwealth countries, we have that and are able to. So what I notice is that once you are able to, if you know this and you register, even if you are just visiting for maybe 6 months and the voting time will meet you here and you register as a citizen, a Commonwealth citizen living in this country, you can vote. And once your name goes into the
election register,
the register, it helps processing your interest if you have an interest in wanting to live in this country. So that's good. But with what Michael is saying, with US, it's quite different.
it's a different story. Yeah.
Excellent. I think that Efua makes a good point. It's unfortunate that many people don't know. And there are many people who, even when they see the sight of a police car, they will run away. We should be closing about now, but I've seen Hanson's hand up. Hanson, go ahead, please.
Oh, thank you very much. Yeah, what Efua is saying, I'm sorry, my computer is worrying. Yeah, what Efua is saying is very good idea. It's not for we ourselves here, though it's for both of us and then our generation. Our children are growing up here in UK. They are schooling here in UK or in US. They speak like the people in UK or in America or wherever they find themselves. Once I was discussing the LBGT with my eldest daughter, and they said, we were saying, I said, oh, everything is stated in the Bible. I said, we don't know. So all these things is in the Bible, and then you've not even told us. I said, yes, it's true. Look at this, look at that, look at this and read. I said, oh, yeah. So we said that charity begins from home. Yeah, as an individual, the impact that we can make in our children's life is to let them know that as the way our background, where we come from, this is not a practice that is acceptable, even though it's the laws of the land which they are living in that country. But not all laws of the land that will make you the citizen of the country. You can choose where you want to belong, but you know your right and you know your left. So what? So yes. So I'm encouraging. Please, we should let our children know where they stand. And then two, in terms of politics, yes, as Auntie Efua said, the moment you enter into this country as a Commonwealth, you belong to the Queen. So you can vote. The first day I came into this country, we just went to the Electoral Commission and then we voted. Because one, if you don't vote, in terms of your, when you want to do anything here, you are not qualified. They look at all these things, blah, is the person registered in the registry, is the person blah, blah, blah. So let's all register and then get involved in any activity that's wherever we find ourselves. And let's also involve whether Conservative, whether Lib Dem, whether Labour, we have to get involved. You know, Auntie Efua has been there before, so I know her. So it's not what you speak, it's your knowledge. And then how you explain things. And then the support, we support each other from the diaspora. This is what we have to know. If we want, I was even saying that, look, we can make a city here. All that we need is we should live in one area, like what the Asians are doing, and then increase the population there.
Yeah.
So we all register, and then we push. Our dear sister Haiti was in it, but where we all live, I saw her, but I can't vote for her because I live in a different area. So let's encourage each other and motivate our children, ourselves, and then we get involved in any activity that they are doing. So right from the basis, from the council level to the higher level, we can make it. We have our diaspora brothers and sisters in politics. So likewise, our children too can be there. So thank you very much. And then for bringing this up that we can discuss things to help ourselves here in UK or in the US. Thanks very much.
Excellent. So thank you very, very much, Hansen. You also make some very vital points here about getting involved. So hopefully we will see more people from where we come from originally getting involved, giving everything a go as far as their new homes. You know, we're not abandoning where we come from originally, but our new homes wherever we are. And thanks to all those who have been on the call, it's not easy to find, you know, people spend all the time that you spent. Today we've been talking to Efua Koi-Larbi. She's the director of EFIBA Arts and African Cultural Development. She was originally based in London, but now in Essex in the UK. And they are impacting lots and lots in this country. Before we spoke to Efua, we spoke to Gina Amoh. Gina, amongst many things, is the chief executive of Inquilab Housing Association. It is rare to find somebody of color in that industry. And we are really proud of what Gina has been able to achieve. And we thank her also for her time. Once again, thanks to everyone for joining us. If you haven't been able to, if you want people to watch it, it will be available on Facebook, and we could also send the video to you. So hopefully same time next week, we will come your way with another interesting discussion. Until then, I want to thank you once again. God bless you. Have a fruitful week. All the very best.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye. Bye.
Bye-bye.